Looks like we are live in pre-show, and I think there's generally about a 8 to 12 second delay.
That's pretty good. I usually get about 20 to 25.
Well, it depends on what service. YouTube is pretty quick. Let's see. Are we
Fade to Tom.
fade to Tom? Let's see. How about a sound check, guys? Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, Gerald, you and I both have the same bad habit, is that we want to rock in our chair and swivel. And that will drive viewers crazy. So I actually have a setting in my chair that prevents it from rocking. I don't have a swivel preventative, but I have a rocking preventative.
Yeah, I think when you get to a certain size, it doesn't really matter what the setting is.
That's right. It's going to move no matter what.
I try to be mindful of it, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, folks, we're still in pre-show. And as you can tell, we've got Gerald with us after long last, and the squirrels are working full speed here in the studio, pumping out internet. So a quick welcome to Merle and David and Kevin and Paul and Martin. Martin is probably out in a field somewhere, if I know Martin. Johnny Campbell, Mr. Call, Tom, right up the road in Reeltown, Alabama. Mike, guest 422, that would be Martin. And Mark and the wife, welcome. Daily News Mysteries, Rudy. Oh, my list just reorganized itself. So let's see. Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin. Philip, Boris, welcome. Kent's here. Giles is here. That's Step Back in Time TV. Rich is here. Texas, Mike is here. Hey, Mike. Blaze is here. Todd's here. Jan's here. Gerald, good. Prashana is here from Nepal. It's like 1:30 in the morning in Nepal. Amazing. And John Kraft is here. Hey, John. Let's see, who did I miss? I'm going down through the list again and just seeing, because my list keeps reorganizing itself, which does not help me. Okay, I think we got everybody on the first pass. Gerald, the rule with the chat is if you arrive late, like during the show, the last person to arrive during the show has to bring the refreshments to the post-show party. So they're under a lot of pressure.
I'm probably due for some snacks myself.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Let's see. I've got to mute my cell phone because otherwise I'll embarrass myself with a call in the middle of the show.
Oh, that's a good point. Do mine as well. Inevitably, Murphy's Law dictates that weird things will happen.
Yeah, and I've gotta fix something here real quick. Looks like I have got let's go here. And let's go here.
Let's see, how's it working with squirrels?
Bear with me just 1 second.
Yeah, she's got a nice active group. People actually chiming in the chat.
Well, they're normally well behaved. but we don't always know. Let's see. Is this the right one? I think it is.
It's all good.
Let's see. Okay, let's go there. And let's go here. There was a beep. That may or may not be good. And let's get a...
Who's Martin is? That's not Martin Martin, is it, from vMix, is it?
No. I don't think so. I think it's Martin from London, from England.
Still across the pond. just a
Yep.
smaller pond.
Just, yeah, less of a pond.
Fewer ponds than the
Yep.
other one.
Okay. Let's see if that fixed it there.
I was looking for the one gentleman's name that I chatted with for a minute last week that I was telling you about that I think FNN Network or something.
Oh, Jim Jacobs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Huh. No, I'm not sure if Jim will be here live, but he will definitely be watching us after the fact. No question about that.
Someone asked if I was using my desktop mic. No, I'm using the lapel mic right here.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, that's Tommy. You got to take anything Tommy says with a grain of salt. It just, you never know what he's going to say next. It's as bad as me. Yeah, that's right. Rich is saying the vMix Fun Time live show for December is tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern at
so the picture
vmix.com.
quality was good. Yeah, that's because I get bored and I decided to pipe my Sony NX5 camera in through vMix into Zoom from there. So, and I even have a handy dandy green screen going on behind me up here with a picture that's fading. I think I bring it up sometimes just to pretend that it's my office window.
Okay. All right. All right, Rich. Gerald. Here's the game plan. We're gonna start the show. It's just gonna be me. I'm gonna do a brief monologue. I'm gonna welcome some folks,
Okay.
have a little bit of news, and then introduce you. And we're just gonna tear it up. So this is
All
gonna
right.
be fun.
Then we'll have about 3 minutes left, right?
No. You'll have. Well, the nice thing is, we don't have corporate telling us we have to take a commercial break. So we'll cover the subject.
Okay. Go
We'll
ahead,
cover
knock
the
yourself
subject.
out. I'm just going to sit here and drink my sweet tea.
Okay. All right. So let's go back here, and we're going to bring his mic down a little bit. Boy, I hope I remember to bring that mic back up. That shot right there. If you are watching us on directly on YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, I got to start the Periscope and Twitter feed. Let's see, start that. And then you got to do the thing with your phone, unfortunately. So let's get that thing going. It's a little cumbersome. You'd think they would want you to actually stream, but I guess, who knows? So let's get that thing going. We're streaming to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter. And the idea is that those are great ways for you to view, but you don't get this when you do that, because the chat room goes away. Uh-oh. Let's lower that volume there. The chat room volume goes the chat room goes away during the show because we just have the show part. So if you want to keep up with the chat, you got to go to the website down here, easternshorebroadcasting.com. So this is just folks on Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook. You're welcome to watch there. Please do. But we won't be monitoring the comments there, and you won't really have access to the full community of viewers because we've got 33 folks in the chat room here that are just chatting up a storm. Who knows what they're talking about? But they really do have some great, except for Tommy. Except for Tommy, they're all really pretty sharp. No, I'm just teasing Tommy. I give him a hard time because he lives practically right up the street. So if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitter live, then come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com. All right, and see, people said we're getting buffering. Looks like you're up and down in an elevator buffering here. Okay, well that's no good. Let's try something different. Let's see if that's, we need to give the squirrels some more stuff. How about that? Did that fix the problem? Count to 10 and tell me, yes, that's better, no, that's worse. Giles says it'll probably settle. His phone just whistled at him. Yeah, well, we just cut the Twitter feed for right now. Because maybe we don't have as much bandwidth as we thought. You know, I checked this morning, I was getting 25, and I'm only using 6 over my shoulder here. So there's probably another bottleneck. Don't have time to troubleshoot it right now. So let's move from pre-show and let's go into the show. And I wish I had taken a few minutes to set up the camera, but I've got my little X keys going here. This is the XK24, and I've got it set up with all my shortcuts. So all I have to do is press. That'll be another show. That'll be another show. So let's. We're going to fade to black, and then we'll start the show. So y'all hang around. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome. Oh my goodness, the music just cut. That's no good. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Sorry about that little faux pas on the introduction. Been playing with lots of things here to try to get as many things automated as possible, because this is like a one-guy show. It's me and yeah, that's it. So glad you're with us today. Streaming Idiots is the show for folks that are interested in live streaming, whether it's using their phone or using a laptop or using their PC or having a streaming PC that just does just streaming. That's what this show is all about. And so we'll talk about software and hardware and cameras and all sorts of the piece parts of the whole streaming mystery. We hope that it's a good thing. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about pay-per-view. And pay-per-view is something that you don't normally, I don't know, maybe you talk about it normally, maybe you don't. There are a few services out there that offer it. And so we've got Gerald Griffith. He's in the green room right now. He's going to be with us in just a second and talk about a unique strategy for doing pay-per-view that allows you to keep all the cash that you generate. So, hey, let's do it. But before we do, we're going to get to Gerald in just a second. I want to welcome all the folks that are with us in chat. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook directly on Periscope or Twitter, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com because you'll have the chat room there. We're not monitoring the chat in Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. I think YouTube might even be disabled, or Periscope. Come on over, join the community. We've got several dozen folks over here that are just chatting away, wishing each other Merry Christmas. Earlier, they were chatting about the different Christmas customs in different countries and how in one country they open all their presents on Christmas Eve. Another country, they have their what we would call Christmas dinner. Here in the U.S., they have it on Christmas Eve. So it's interesting the way different cultures handled their holidays. It was kind of fun to read that. I want to give a shout out and a welcome to all the folks that subscribed to us on YouTube since our last show. We got MicroStream Media, Lucas, Ebenezer, Ferdinand, Khurshid, Jacob, Alexandra, Rahul, Hugo, Stefan, Jerry, Lover of Life, Erastus, Itshak, Duval, Leroy, Michael, Seychad, Benz, the PANJ, that must be Pennsylvania, New Jersey Radio, Life Media Pro, Samuel, Social Media TV, Sarie, Ngozi at Night, Alta Viso, Scott, Paulo, and PX Productions, and ProGag. So thank you so much for subscribing to our YouTube channel. You'll get a notice whenever we're live and whenever we've posted a video. We're live every Wednesday. And I guess that's all the kind of the news stuff here. Oh, also, if you're watching live, I'm going to put a a link. Is it a link? No, it's not going to be a link. I'm going to put a code in the chat, and that'll stay active all week until next week's show for X keys. If you want to get X keys from us, we will put a link there so that you can get free shipping. So if you've got some extra Christmas money on hand and you want to get some X keys, that'll be the time to do it. It looks like I have a little artifacts down here. I might need to adjust my lighting. Yeah, I see some of it's kind of gotten out of whack. Okay, so much for all of that. Pay-per-view. Back in 2014, I did a pay-per-view of a soccer match. There was a women's amateur national championship held very near here in Pensacola, Florida. And the folks from the soccer match asked me to come and live stream it for them. I said, how much are you going to pay me? They said, nothing, which is a lot of times the case. You know, it's only live streaming. It can't be that important. But they said that the folks at home, because there were teams traveling from all over the country to be here, but the folks from home wanted to be able to watch, and they said, yes, you can go ahead and do pay-per-view. So I had a $9, it was maybe $9.95 pay-per-view, and did okay on that. But I had to split my $9.95 with a provider that provided me access to all the pay-per-view functions, all the collecting money and you know, secret codes and all that kind of stuff. They handled all that, and they took a good chunk of my $9.95. Well, it's always kind of concerned me about that, and I thought, you know, one day I'm going to trip over a way to do it better and do it in a less expensive fashion. And I just happened to be chatting with our guest today, Gerald Griffith with VoiceOver City, and somehow the subject of pay-per-view came up, and he started telling me about this amazing strategy for pay-per-view that he's using. You know what? Instead of me getting into it, why don't I bring Gerald in? Gerald, come on in and welcome to the show. Hang on a second. Let me get your mic up because we turned you down there, probably mostly by accident. There we go. Are you there?
I'm here.
Yay. All right. Very good. Welcome, Gerald. So you have this tremendous strategy for using pay-per-view, but before we tell everybody what the strategy is, I mean, we got to make them hang in limbo just a little bit longer. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into streaming, and that'll kind of fold into the whole pay-per-view deal.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Well, first, thanks for having me on, Tom. It's great to be able to talk to you and get your help with getting my X keys and my PTZ optics camera the other week. So that's got me rolling. It made me even more dangerous and given me one other occasion to explain to my wife that it's all for testing. Anyway.
It's a legitimate business expense, yeah.
It is, but it's always testing, first. I started a voiceover conference here in Atlanta that we do once a year back in 2013. And I don't know how I originally got the idea of trying to live stream it, but I did. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was laughing a lot because I was thinking about how I was so clueless about the entire live streaming process and what was involved at that point that I had a C920 webcam that I was going to feed in. I was using Livestream Studio at the time. And then I had one little Sony or Canon handheld camcorder, and my entire operation that first year trying to do that was a hot mess. It was painful. I'm glad we weren't really trying to charge anybody that year because it was not cool at all. It was very ugly. So each year since then, we've tried to improve that process and go back to the drawing board, both on the streaming side and on the part of how to monetize it and tie it into the overall event. One thing, of course, to overcome was the idea that if you stream something, that you're going to kind of take away from people's desire to be at the event. And what ends up happening there is the opposite is true. It actually attracts people in. But after
Can I quote you on that? I mean, that is so quotable right there because so many folks are really concerned. Oh, a live stream is going to reduce the number of paid attendees. That's
no,
not
it's
true.
actually there's actually a study done by the Professional Meeting Planners Association, which I'm a part of. That they went and studied that from their conferences when they started live streaming content out, and they weren't charging for it or anything, and they were afraid of that same thing. And they did a survey after the fact, and they were talking about the fact that a lot of attendees said, "Yeah, I watched some of the content from home, and it just made me want to be there. It looks like everybody was having such fun because when you think about it, they're looking at it from home, at their desk, in their pajamas, in the same old place, but they're watching people have fun. They're watching people laughing and enjoying great food together and learning things in the room, and they want to be a part of that. And so it actually does help in that regard. But some people just simply can't make it. And I'll touch on that a little bit as well. But what I ended up doing, I had to learn on two tracks. One was the streaming. That was one element of it. And I've probably tested more streaming service providers than I would care to admit at this point. They each have their strengths and they each have their not strengths, put it that way, to be nice about it.
Yep.
But it's a challenge because as an IT person, IT background, there's a disconnect often between the marketing and the execution of that marketing.
Yep.
When you get to many of these products. But the first year when I tried to do the paid version of the live stream stuff, it was interesting because we ran into some problems at the event with their service, the service providing. And we just could not get connections and things like that. And probably the first point I would share with people is to understand that people are already a pain sometimes when things are free. And if you think they're a pain when things are free, you collect a nickel from them and the expectation just went up, way up because of that. And you'd be surprised. It doesn't matter how low the amount is. You can say, well, we're only charging $1. It does not matter. It's kind of like the people who will haggle you for 50 cents at a yard sale. It's like, don't think that because it's really cheap that people are not going to be critical of you, because they will. The thing about having a service where the provider is acting as your paywall is you run a couple of risks, Tom. Two particular risks. One is that most of the providers that I've seen out there will hold your money. And I don't know about many of you small business owners like myself, but you don't want someone holding your funds for sometimes 2 weeks or a month.
A month, yeah.
They pay, and they have certain minimums that we touched on before when we talked, Tom.
Right.
Sometimes they'll have minimums that say, well, unless you made $100, they're not going to write you a check at all until you have at least $100. So they find excuses like that. But remember, they've collected your money. It's up to you to have some arrangement and hope that they follow through on that part. The other part of that, and equally important, is that they have the relationship with your clients. Your clients' connection with that service is on that platform. And I've used the cast. I see the cast mentioned in the chat room and everything in there. But keep in mind, if you're doing, like in my case, our event is 4 days. So if we have a service problem, it could be a huge deal depending on how long that service issue lasts. But I'll just say the cast, so someone mentioned it there. But let's assume, for instance, we use the cast as our paywall. People come in, they register. If the cast for some reason has a problem, what are your options? And this is a big thing. What are your options? What do you do at that point? People have paid for your service. They're not really aware of the cast, no matter how much the cast tries to help you. They paid for your service.
That's right.
For your stream. So the problem becomes, if the cast doesn't get your service fixed, you may immediately think, well, you know what? I've still got an account with Streaming Monkey, or I've got an account with StreamSpot, or I've got an account with YouTube, or whatever it is your other streaming options might be. But you've got a problem. All of your money is with the cast. All of your access rights and controls for your customers are with the cast. How do you then move? Let's assume, like in my case, I have about 120 or 150 people that paid to watch my pay-per-view this past year. So I've got 100 plus people registered in the cast. I can fire up another stream, but how do I then control access for these 100 people to this content? How you know?
You send them an email with a link. That's, and hope for the best.
Yeah, you're going to send them an email, a link. Chances are you don't have a nice, neat list to send that email from, because even if they were sending you confirmations, they came in one at a time.
Right.
And you can't access the cast site potentially at that moment to pull off a nice little CSV file to then email them. And even if you emailed them, what would you tell them? Here's a link to another service. So that was a dilemma that, as an IT person, I wasn't really comfortable with, because in IT, we always think in terms of redundancy and how do you work around things when problems come up. Not so much if, but more of a when. So anyway, so I had to think through, how do you retake control of two things? The first thing being, who's holding your money, and the second thing being, who's holding your clients.
Right.
Because you are responsible for your clients. So what I came up with was an option that took control back from both of those things. And this option was very simple in that I was like, why didn't I think of this sooner? But I was just glad when I did. It dawned on me one day that what I was essentially trying to sell people was access to something. Okay, I was trying to sell them access to a stream or multiple streams. Which, before I go further, one of the things you have too is you do have the option in some platforms of selling a single stream, access to something, but it's another level when you say, I want to give you access to a group of streams or an entire package. Or if you do sports, perhaps you want to give them access to an entire season, so that you're not, get out of the business of trying to sell a game and sell a package, sell a season pass, because then you could charge a little more, and then you can care a little less about whether they show up to each week. They can always come back and watch your recording later. So if you sell them a package, they only pay once. They only have to think about the money once, which is great. Because if you're selling them per game, then you're making them think about the money every single week. People don't like to think about the money every single week, but they, where you may be selling them a $5 game or $10 game, it may be better for you to sell them a $45 or $95 season. They pay it once, and then they're done with it. They just go on and enjoy the games throughout the season. Even if they miss something, you can post it later, and they have access to it. So what I ended up doing was going back and implementing a membership platform to control my pay-per-view process. And let me tell you the benefits of doing it this way. One is the membership platforms that I ended up looking at, and there were a couple, and in principle they'll all work. But I found one that allowed me to offer multiple payment gateways. So they could check out using PayPal, or they could check out using Stripe. The benefit there for me was some people hate PayPal. They've had bad experience with PayPal. They do not want to see PayPal with anything near their transaction. So they use Stripe. No problem. They love it. Stripe puts money in your account the next day. But I don't want to get rid of PayPal. And here's why. In my case, I offer packages that are 3 tiers. There's $45 for a most basic thing. There's a $99 one, and there's a $145 if they want to be able to download the videos later. If they're getting the $99 package or the $145 package, they can check out with PayPal and select the Bill Me Later option. PayPal pays you the funds up front. They're able to take 6 months, no payment, no interest, or they can just pay it off, because for some people, it's not even about that they can't afford it or something. They just like the simplicity of going ahead and, putting it on their Bill Me Later account or something like that. And for some people, small business owners in particular, they get paid in PayPal if they have online accounts and different things. So it's not like real money for them. And they love to just say, oh, I'll just spend the money I have in PayPal. It doesn't feel the same as taking cash out of the bank account. So anyway, that was one thing. It gave me multiple payment options. The other thing it gave me was ownership of my client information and data. When they sign up, I can control all of the messaging that they get, the emails, the confirmation, and everything else that they get related to that pay-per-view session. I can send them reminders. I could set up things like an expiration. Like right now, the one I'm putting together for my conference in March, I could have someone sign up today, and I can set up their membership type so that it expires March 30th. So they don't have to feel like, oh my God, I only signed up for 30 days, I'm gonna have to renew. It doesn't matter. They can sign up now, and the benefit is I can make certain things available to them as a part of their package where they can go watch recordings from 2016, and then they'll get access to all the recordings for 2017 when those come online. So they feel like, wow, I got more value for the one price. Now, from the technical standpoint, here's where it really gets to be a lot of fun. You can actually stop worrying about having a problem with one service provider. Why? Because you're not selling a direct relationship with the service provider. You're selling to that client access to a particular page on your site. And then the benefit there is, what I end up doing is I use a theme called Divi by Elegant Themes. And you can do the same thing with I forget the name of the tool right now, but the concept will be the same. You can create modules that you can reuse. So in Divi, what I do is I create and save a module, let's say for the cast, and then I save another block for, let's say, Ustream, if that were the one. I make one of them active, and I deactivate one of them as my backup. So if the cast had a problem, within that page, all I need to do is deactivate the cast, activate the Ustream, and even within vMix, I could be streaming to both of these at the same time if I like. So that to the user, they don't know where the feed comes from, and neither should they care. All they know is that on your page, there is a video playing. If you have people asking you where your video comes from, then you got bigger problems. But to the user, they shouldn't care where that video feed is coming from at all. They shouldn't care if it's streaming video provider, Ustream, live stream, YouTube, none of that. They should not care at all. All they know is that they paid you a membership on your site. They have access to that page on your site, and they're happy. But what you gained in that process was you collected all the user data, you own the user relationship, you got paid either immediately in PayPal or the next day in Stripe, or maybe 2 days or something like that. Um, and it's a win-win for everyone. And then you can go through and do multiple pages like this. I originally tried to create like a separate stream for each of the things that I do. I ended up just creating one. And then I use a site like chatroll.com to embed a chat box right next to the live stream window so that we can have a chat right there. Same kind of functionality they would have if they were on a platform like livestream.com or something like that. So they get all that functionality in there, and they're happy, and they're able to just log in, and it works well. And then depending on the membership tool you have, you can give them access to, you can make some of your streams like premium. You can make some of them standard, or however you want to divide that up. It's just a matter of wrapping your head around the idea that it's a membership tool, but you're using it for, a different type of implementation. So once you get past the term membership and thinking about it as a membership, and think about it more like a subscription in that term, then it all kind of starts to come together and make a lot more sense to you. But everybody ends up winning in the end. You'll be happier. You know that you have more flexibility. I even maintain two websites for that matter. I have like voatlanta.tv, and then I have voatlanta.me, and I even have voatlanta.co. So I keep them separate. My .me site is my main site for my conference. I do not put a membership site on it. I don't tie it up with anything extra, because remember, this is the site where you're collecting your money. This is the site where all of the business transactions are going to happen. So I put my .tv site to handle the media stuff. And by doing that, I'm able to streamline the theme and plugins that go on there to only what's necessary, and the membership plugin and whatever add-ons are needed to run that. And then it just minimizes the chance that you run into any problems and glitches and things like that along the way. So that's kind of it at a high level, Tom.
This is the third time I've heard this, because we talked about it one time, and then I said, we got to talk some more because we got to go deeper. And I'm still just amazed. This is so cool, so very cool. I mean, where did you come up with this? Were you just in the shower one day and said, bing, here it is?
Who has time for showers when you do this stuff? No, just kidding. No, I don't remember. I don't know if there was like one particular point, but it was just a lot of trial and error and frustration with either service providers. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't even touch on. And you mentioned this, the fees.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could not get my head around the idea that. But here was the frustration for me. If I had 100 viewers on the site and I was letting them watch that for free, I would only pay my normal streaming service charge.
Right.
So whatever that would be, let's say it's $50. I would only pay that $50. But because I want to charge for my content, they're telling me that all of a sudden, if I charge those 50 people, that they want 50% of my revenue. But they've not done 50% more work. They've not provided me 50% more service. They've done nothing. They didn't get the customer. They didn't.
But they collected the money.
Yeah. Okay. Look, hey, here's the thing, Tom. And when I talked about this, I'm not opposed to people making money. I'm not. I think that there is a point where there's a reasonable fee. I think somebody just mentioned 10% for the cast. 10%, that's fine. Credit cards are usually like 5% or something like that, so they're probably adding 5% to cover, for their keep on that, which is fine. But 50%?
Well, 10%. 10% plus you're paying for the streaming. You're paying for the bandwidth.
Yeah.
So it's 10% plus.
The 10% part, if it came down to using a service like that, the 10% isn't huge, isn't bad. But I think when I last looked at it, it was Ustream.
Yep.
It was 50% of your revenue. I just could not get my head around that.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a big control guy. I mean, you guys heard me in pre-show directing everybody back to my website for the show. I mean, even though we're going to YouTube and Facebook and Periscope and Twitter, I want people to come back here because there's so much more here on my website that I want people to see that they can't see at Facebook. In the same way, when I'm doing pay-per-view, I want my customers to be my customers. I want to have access to their emails. I want to be able to engage them on a regular basis. And if I have subbed that out to a third party to handle all that for me, I lose a lot of control. Now, I mean, I'm a control freak, but I think you need to have control of your business. When you give control of your business to somebody else and they're never as motivated to take care of your business as you are,
Right.
you're giving up important control that you shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than the feeling of, like, someone mentioned in the chat about one of my websites being down. Yes, it's down. You're right. And this is a classic example of dealing with these providers is the sites that are down right now are at the host level. So I have several sites that are down. But the sites that are up, like the voatlanta.me sites, are the sites that I've migrated to WP Engine. Those are up running and running fine. But the sites that I had at my old host that I'm migrating from is down. And all I could do was open a ticket. Even though they had a person that's live and everything, it was like, well, just open a support ticket. Okay, so now what do I get to do? Wait.
Yeah.
Now imagine my pay-per-view being on that system still. I don't have a real tech 24/7. I just have a ticket opening person 24/7.
Well, what more do you need?
Yeah. I mean, I could think redundancy, like, from an IT background, and I've dealt with redundancy to the point that companies literally had AT&T come in one side of their building for their network connectivity, and Verizon or somebody else bring a totally separate line into the opposite side of they wouldn't even bring the lines in from the same side of the building. And they would be totally separate networks.
Sure.
We have two networks, completely separate networks, and we can load balance between either of them at any given time
Right.
to handle 100% of the customer load. So it can be really involved, but I think at most of our levels, you have just a reasonable level of flexibility. And like someone mentioned in the chat, I think I saw it pass by there. They were saying like, well, Divi, you can use different things in WordPress. I just happen to use Divi. I started moving over to Visual Composer. I just didn't have time to implement it with where I am in my conference planning right now. But I'd like to eventually probably blow it all the way and start back and use something like Visual Composer. But the concept is still the same. If you're using WordPress, it won't matter whether you're using the Divi Builder or one of the other programs like Visual Composer to put it together, or just basic WordPress concept.
Tell us again, I don't think you mentioned it before, what's the membership plugin that you use?
I use MemberMouse at the moment. No, not MemberMouse. I'm sorry.
That's the one you were using.
I was using them, and right now I'm using MemberPress.
MemberPress, yeah.
Yeah, but I've been testing back and forth between the two actually of late. They have similar things. It just depends on how much detail and function you want to have in there. So I use MemberPress primarily at the moment. That's my current plan, is to use MemberPress when I relaunch the pay-per-view service signups starting at the beginning of February for the conference stuff. But having the pay-per-view function has been a really nice add-on. And we're not, like I said, we're not in the $5 or $10 kind of range. So I can tell you that we're north of 10,000 in revenue just from that 4 days, which for a conference our size is not too bad to be able to offer that. So it works out pretty well. But knowing that you have that control and that access and you can respond to things a lot more quickly than you can opening a support ticket somewhere and just hoping for the best, or worse still, getting somebody on the line and they're clueless and all they're telling you is, oh, we'll pass it on to our development team.
Somebody I saw put, Mike, thank you, put the MemberPress link in the site. Gerald does have an affiliate link, and Gerald, if you would take a second and put that in chat. I
don't even have it ready.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we'll put it in the notes in YouTube, on the YouTube page, so you guys can come back if you want to watch the show after the fact and pick up the affiliate link. That'll help Gerald out a little bit. One of the other things.
Look, I appreciate him using it, but the truth is that they're all serve the same basic purpose.
But hey, if there are 20 people that are using the same strategy that you're using, and we're tied together in kind of in the same community, now we've got the ability to say, hey, this works really well. Here's a different way of doing this. I was able to take this and make it do these 3 other things, and suddenly, we've increased our strength, together by having this common experience.
I agree with you. I usually just say that part because, occasionally you'll have the cynic out there who thinks it's all about you trying to sell a particular thing. And quite frankly, what I try to share with people are the fundamentals, the basics, so that whether you're using MemberMouse or MemberPress or whatever tool you use, it still applies. The concept is that you retake control of your client base, you retake control of your streaming and things like that, so that you can better control the relationship that you have with your clients on the back end, because that's when you're providing a service, that is the point of frustration. Not that something goes wrong, but it's that something goes wrong and you don't have the ability to respond to it, other than just sending an email to someone and saying, hey, can you help me? And they say, oh, we'll open a ticket and we'll get back to you. Because my event happens on the weekend. And a lot of my stuff happens late in the evening.
And it's a one-shot deal. If you miss that shot, that's gone.
So I just tell people, weigh it out. And I know sometimes I'll see in different things about, well, you can get this service that's cheap, or this service is $5 or $10 or $12. And I don't do well in those conversations, Tom, only because if you're doing something just for fun and hobby, it's all good. But I think when you get to that place where you're saying, I'll use myself as an example. If I did in 2016 in 4 days and generated, say, $10,000 or so in that weekend, and then I get to 2017 and I'm using something because it's the cheap option, the cheap solution, and I screw up and I've got to refund all that money and everything and lose the goodwill of people.
Yep.
What was it worth? Was it worth, I'm thinking to myself, I'm listening to people sometimes make huge business decisions all over saving $50. And I'm like, you're telling me you're going to jeopardize your entire operation because you're running to another service because it was $50 less than the other one? I'm like,
You guys got to sell Gerald something, because he appreciates value. And Christmas is coming up.
Hey, I just bought the PTZ camera from you, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I should be good at least for a month or so, man.
And you got an X Keys 80 and an X Keys 24 from me.
I did.
I sent him the 24 by accident when I was supposed to send him the 80. My bad.
Yeah. What were you saying about the 24? You said just keep it as a test system. What?
No, I don't think I said that. I think I said send it back. The one thing that I love about your idea is that it's a whole different slice of how to look at this whole pay-per-view kind of thing. And there's a lot of chat in the chat room right now of, pay-per-view versus sponsors. And I think both of those have their time and their place. But for events that are a one-time, one-shot event where you've got an audience that cannot participate, but cannot be physically present, and they are willing to pay to watch it in their pajamas, then you got to take their money. You can't pan it off on a sponsor. I mean, and in your case, VoiceOver City is putting on this conference. Who are you going to get as a sponsor? A microphone company or a spit guard company? I think you really want to squeeze as much. And here's the other thing: is that the folks that registered for your pay-per-view last year now become part of your database for this coming year. And you can get them signed up. You can encourage them to sign up for the show and come because they've seen it in the past. And you can also give them incentives to sign up or to share and kind of become an affiliate, and they can watch for free if they sign up 5 other people. I mean, now that you've got their contact information, there's so much as a marketer that you can do with it that you can't do if you don't have it.
And for instance, you could even, in MemberPress, they just added a feature called a corporate account. So you can actually sign up a company. So think of it as somewhere in between having a sponsor and having, the individual purchase. If you could have a company say that, they purchase some kind of package with you where they buy the rights to 25 seats or 50 seats or something. You just charge them once, you give them the codes or whatever it is, and then they can distribute them however they like to their people, and it's free to them.
Right.
Because it all falls up under that corporate account.
And within the membership, the WordPress membership plugin, you can make those kind of arrangements where you can give 10 unique keys, and once somebody's used that key, nobody else is using it.
Right, it attaches to it. And you can do things like control how many logins can be active on that account at one time, which helps protect you from things like, people just sharing it out all over the place.
Right.
So there, again, because you have the flexibility, you could do a lot of things without ever having to involve someone else in the process. And I think I saw a question pass by here asking about, the edition of MemberPress. I have their developer. I mean, they only have 2 editions. The one is the 97 and 199 or something like that, and then the other one's 199. The biggest difference being that one is unlimited number of sites. So if you have various sites, you could do it that way with the developer one. And I think there are a couple other minor things with their add-ons and stuff like that they support. One of the things I do use is people who are attending the conference in person. I give them access to the live stream stuff. And so what I'll tend to do is in the registration system, I will export my user database of people who are registered to attend the conference. And then I will import that into the membership site and give them a special membership type so that they can access the pages and watch the content. And it just takes a lot of stress off of them from having to attend the panels in person first, rather than going to a breakout, because we have 20 something breakouts and
you're adding value to your offering, and it's costing you like this much to do it, just the time and energy to put it together.
Yeah, and they love it because we have a lot going on at our conference, and they're constantly going, oh, do I go to this? Do I go to that? So to know that they can just go watch the panel later, it just makes it a lot easier for them. So it works. It's a value add, like you mentioned. And, I'm looking at some of the chat here. See, someone had a comment about the cast. I would certainly not abandon anything that's working for you, man. I'm a big believer that part of the biggest challenge most of us have is that we just don't spend enough time mastering something, and we don't account for the time it takes to get up to speed on the new thing. And So if the cast is working for you, man, it's like, it's great. And the setup for this, quite frankly, the membership setup, it's a lot easier than you may think. Because once you install it, you can decide what pages go to what memberships and what don't. I keep mine pretty simple. There are only three things. You're at the really starter, you're at the beginner, at the basic rather, or you're at the premium account. Very, very few options. I don't want to inundate people with choices because that's just more things you have to explain later, depending on which one you go to. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos with other people that use it and set it up. They're going to talk about it as a membership site. But just remember that for you, you're just thinking of it as a page where you embed your content.
Right.
That's the biggest shift in thinking, is just to remember that you're not selling it as a traditional membership site so much. You're selling it as access to a page that happens to hold your content.
Right. Well, and there's a big difference. I mean, Amnon was making the point that Amnon has a Sunday morning tech show for old people. And I can tell it's old people because he's got all gray-haired people on the show except for this one young kid. Computers2know.com. If you haven't ever been there, it's a great show. But Amnon's show has, he migrated from radio to live video over the internet, and has an audience that numbers in the thousands every Sunday morning. If he were to try to convert that show to pay-per-view, he would lose a significant portion of his audience. But that's not what pay-per-view is about. Pay-per-view is taking an opportunity that people would have paid to see live, a concert, a series, a lecture series, a convention, things that have value to them that they would have taken time and money to invest in and be present live. They have the option not to be present live and to get maybe not the whole effect, but a significant portion of the effect for a lesser amount of dollars. And that's the balance. It's not, do I take a high school football game and do I start charging for it? I think there was a company called iHigh that tried to switch their model from a free stream to a paid stream, and it went down the tubes. But rather we're talking about not so much entertainment, although concerts would fit into that if you were highly motivated to go to a concert. It's really those professional level things where people would have spent hundreds or thousands of dollars to attend, now have the option to attend virtually. And that's where pay-per-view, that's the sweet spot for pay-per-view, where people were willing to spend money already, but now they've got an option.
Well, the thing, I mean, to what you just used as an example there, Tom, where they have a lot of people who come on and watch the show live, I would leave that model exactly the way it is. And I think just to kind of piggyback on what you were suggesting there is people can watch the programming live if they want to watch the archives of the programming, maybe where he can introduce, even if it's a $5 thing or something, that you can have access to all the archives. You can have it to where it's access to all the archives after maybe 7 days, and they become protected. So you give people an incentive.
His show is not that good.
Okay.
I'm teasing.
Amnon was put a plain money button on there where you just
that's right.
Give them $1 for watching.
That's right. No, I think Amnon was one of my very first guests. Everybody else turned me down, and Amnon had mercy on me back in July of 2012 and came on the show. Those shows are still out there on the archives, and you don't have to pay to see them. They were horrible.
And I can't reiterate enough. I mean, these were lessons learned for me. So, everybody's situation is going to be a little different, and their relationships, say like with sports, it's going to be very different than mine when I'm dealing with professional people in a professional setting.
Sure.
And I can just tell you that there is nothing worse than having stood there at my switch with my switch operator realizing that there was a problem with the streaming provider, and to just be dead in the water. And people are in the chat room saying, hey, the site's down, the feed's down, I signed up for this, where's the feed? Or I couldn't watch the feed, am I going to get a refund? And now you got to explain all that. Whereas we had that happen again like 2 years later, and I already had a backup process in place. And then, boom, I was down for like 15 minutes and already back up. And their membership access was the same, the amount they paid was the same, and they were able to continue watching the program. Even in the chat room, we were able to say, hey, we're having a technical problem, we'll have it fixed in a moment, and we'll be right back up. All we did was kill that particular piece of the page, activate the other one, restart our stream, check to make sure the feed was coming in, type in the chat room again, please refresh your browser. They did. They were like, oh, it's perfect. Now I can see it.
Well, and Amnon just posted in chat that, in the days where there were a lot of free CDNs, and that he may still be doing it, he would stream to all of them simultaneously, and people could pick which channel they wanted to watch that just happened to be the best color or the best feed for them. So you could literally simultaneously stream 2 or 3 streams and let people pick which one. And so you wouldn't even be down for 5 seconds, all the time it would take for people to push a second button.
I did something like that once. I don't do it all the time, but I may go back and play with it. I had the main window, and then I had a link at the bottom that just said, like, click here if you're having a problem with the main feed, and it would actually pop up a window, which would be an alternate feed from a different service. They didn't know the difference, but it was just like, hey, if you can't see this feed, just click here.
Right.
And then it would bring up an alternate feed.
And you could do that with a primary feed and then an alternate feed tucked in behind it. And the alternate feed could be a standard definition feed, so you wouldn't eat up all your bandwidth. In fact, it could just be a re-encoded version of this same feed, but from a different provider somehow.
Because through your switch, you're going to feed to 2 different CDNs, and then you're going to bring them back together on the page.
Right. Or you involve somebody like Switchboard Live with their Joycaster feature, where you stream one, and they send it out to 4 or 5 different CDNs simultaneously. Gerald, I love this idea. I just love this idea. I wish I had an event I could go out and do this on today, because it would be so much fun to set it all up and then count all the money later.
Well, the counting the money is a lot easier when you know that you can, you have your redundancy in place, and
when you're going to keep it all. Yeah.
That's right. That certainly helps. So yeah, the $200 for the plug-in or member tool or whatever is nothing in the grand scheme of things to have that flexibility. And one other tip that someone could use, and I haven't played with this one yet, but I think someone mentioned it, or I was reading something or whatever it was, is when you're dealing with, say, content where you're going to record it and the person's going to come back and play it later, like after the fact, you can take and you have, because the way the membership tool allows you to set it up, you can set up so that if you go to page A and you're not logged in, you only see a certain part of the content. Just like on some of the newspaper sites, if you're not a subscriber, you only see the first couple of paragraphs.
I hate that. Yes.
But here's where it's beautiful, though. You'll love this. What you can do is, because you can segment that page based on their membership level or non-membership level, if they're not logged in, you can have embedded in there a scaled down piece of your video on demand. Let's say you've edited it down to a minute or 2 minutes, and that's all they'll see. And when it gets to the end, it'll say, to see the remaining video, click here to register. If they're logged in, they would see the full video without any problem. So now you have 2 things going on. You allow them to get kind of the taste of it, of what it is you offer as a product. But after 2 minutes, 3 minutes, in my case, like our panel discussions are an hour. So I'll probably let them watch 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes because by the time you get to 4 minutes, they're comfortable. They're like, oh, this is really good.
I like this. I need to know this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's, oh, wait a minute, what happened? It's like, oh man, I'm at a register. But you don't want, you want to see it. At that point, you've kind of gotten the scent of it. Like, this is really good.
Right.
And so it incentivizes them to go ahead and register. But that's another option you have with the membership thing, is you can have those two different videos, tied to the same page. If they're not logged in, they see the preview of it. If they are logged in, they see the full version.
And you don't have to do that. I mean, this is just an add-on to take it one step further. And I bet, it'd be interesting. Are you going to do that this coming spring on this show, on your convention?
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be implementing.
So you'll have some stats to see how many people you converted on the spot from a 3 to 5 minute viewer that said, okay, I want to buy this. I want it right now.
Yep, and there'll be a register now button.
Right.
For them to go there and pick an option. So, and then you can set it up to where if they started at the basic level, they can upgrade it and different things like that. And
right.
Because they have access rights, people like to wait and they'll forget about it, put it off. You can set it up to send them emails like, your membership will end, your access will end at, 7 days, 3 days, 1 day. And a lot of times I probably had, out of that 150 people, I probably had another about 15 or 20 people who paid to extend their thing. And then I probably had another 25 to 30 people who had gotten free access because they were an attendee, came back and got a paid subscription because they wanted to get the downloads. So they needed the full premium pack to get the downloaded files.
So you're talking 30%. That's a significant number.
Yeah.
10% renewed, and then another 20% came in and took advantage of, oh yeah, I love that.
So it's always about, I always want to feel like I gave a great value. And so, again, they got free access because they attended the conference. And then if they wanted to upgrade, the only thing they really are upgrading to is the ability to get the downloads for their own records.
Right.
And it just works out. They're happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. Happy.
I have a friend in the studio today. Let me get him up here. Some of you will remember.
Hey, there's Jim Jacobs.
It's NDI Rooney. Rooney came in and he was our NDI compatible Jack Russell Terrier a while back. He's come to visit in the studio. Rooney, say hi to all those people. There you go. All right, go play. Good boy. Good boy. Who knows who will walk into the studio from day to day? Well, we have exceeded our allowed time by 100%, but it's definitely been worth it.
Just think of it as your pre-Christmas edition.
Yeah, that's right. This is your gift.
Extended holiday cut.
This is your best idea for 2016 that you can use in 2017. And I'll be incorporating some of this. Actually, we've got a new offering coming in January or February called Live Streaming Rookies, and it'll be based on a membership concept, thanks in part to what you've taught me in our brief time together. So that's going to be fun.
I'll be looking for my access code.
Yeah, that's right. That's
for testing purposes.
Of course, just for testing purposes.
No. But really, you all will find that it's really not that difficult to set up at all. It's really not. And the larger ones, the larger companies out there that do it, they have lots of training videos, YouTube videos that people have put together for specific things. Once you get used to it, you'll be like, wow, when I do this. Like I said, sports teams are a little bit different. And I've debated about doing it. But here's what I would say on the sports team sometimes. If people are used to doing it for free or whatever, if nothing else, you can collect their information and put a donate button or something on there.
Right.
So that even though they can access the page for free, there's a donate button on there. They click donate. You can take their donation directly, and they do like it. I stream my son's football games just for practice. and parents love it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, my grandparents, the grandparents watched it from Florida or
Yep.
Germany or wherever they were in the world."
Yep.
At the end of the season, they gave me a little donation and signed football and all that kind of stuff like that. Um, just to, for appreciation, I guess.
Man, that's
But
the best. That's the best right there.
yeah, and it gives me great practice every week. So I go out there and see how fast I can set up. I've gotten it down to like from my car to streaming, like 10 minutes. you know, so it's different. If you can learn to track little 9-year-olds running up and down the field,
You can stream anything. Yeah,
and it's not too hard to track panelists sitting in a chair.
that's right. That's right. All right. Well, maybe after your convention has concluded and you've recovered from that, you can come on live streaming Rookies and teach everybody how to do this. I'll talk to you about that. I'll talk to you about that.
Hey, I love teaching. I've done
I can
teaching.
tell.
It's all good.
I can tell.
Just trying to have fun with it. That's all.
Yep. I can tell that. I can tell that. Well, folks, for those of you that well, golly, the full audience is still here, so obviously we were doing something right. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Periscope or something like that, definitely subscribe to the YouTube stream. It's Eastern Shore Broadcasting on YouTube. You can go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, and get linked up with YouTube there. But the benefit is that YouTube will send you a notice when we're doing a live show, and they'll send you a notice when we've upgraded something. When we've uploaded a show, so that you can see it, because we really do have good stuff. You saw how good Gerald was today. It's like this all the time. Well, not all the time. Sometimes it's not this good. When I'm just by myself, it's definitely not. But definitely subscribe. Gerald, thank you so much for sitting in with us today and taking time out. And we wish you the best. And tell me the dates of the convention.
It's March 9th to the 12th.
March 9th through the 12th. Okay, well, I'll put you on my prayer list for peace and wisdom on that one.
Yeah, it's a process. But this is 5 years we're going into. So fortunately, we've worked out a lot of the kinks. But
it's a well-worn path. Yeah.
Tom, I do want to, again, just tell you thank you for your support and helping me get the couple items that I purchased through you and other, the other chats that we've had on the phone and stuff like that, and inviting me onto the program, and even the people in the chat here, good questions and things like that. So it's all good.
And they behaved. I was amazed. It was good. Yeah.
I know. I was like, wow, these guys are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have to come back.
Good. Well, we'll get you back. All right, folks. Well, we're gonna tell Gerald that he's allowed to hang out, and we'll bring down his audio for just a second. I really do appreciate y'all coming in today. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you've learned a lot. You can go back and watch this one on YouTube. And what's going to happen real quickly, we're streaming this on YouTube, so you'll get to watch all the pre-show if you go back and watch this recording. But we're also going to upload just the show portion. So if you just want to hear the show portion, it'll be a separate recording, and we'll note the two. And I'll get Gerald to send me his affiliate link, and we'll put that in the YouTube show notes. So on behalf of Gerald and myself, we thank you for watching Streaming Idiots today. If I can help you with anything with vMix or Magwell or PTZ Optics or X Keys, I'd be happy to. They're in our store. We also design and build custom streaming PCs for folks that have that need. And if you think you do, give me a call and we can chat about it. Otherwise, we will see you. And we'll see you next week. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Y'all take care. And I pushed the button, and the outro did not happen. So much for that. We'll see you next week. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. At least I got that button right. I've got a button here on my X keys that allows me to, hold on a second, let me shift the shot for just 1 second. Uh-oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to shift to that shot. I did it again. This is bad. There we go. That's the shot I'm trying to make. The Asus back here, and I keep it back in the background so folks can tell that we're using two PCs with our stream. The primary PC, the production PC, is the PC that I'm zooming with Gerald on. And then the little Asus laptop back here is our streaming and recording PC. And I set up a shortcut in X keys that allows me to actually control that PC. So I can turn on streaming, I can turn off streaming, I can start and stop recording right here. So it's lovely, and we're going to have that in an upcoming show so that you can learn how to do that too. And let's bring Gerald back. And Gerald, thank you so much for being on the show. And,
well, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a geek a little, so.
Kinda.
So,
You are a bona fide geek. Uh-oh, here he
I
comes.
feel like that's part of my PTZ. So you I have like a full size camera set up with this stuff, and I have fun with it and play around. Let me see if I can even show you a slightly wider view. There we go. So you can see there's, without getting into my messy office too much. So there, see, it's kind of. I don't have two PCs or anything going, but you're handling the production on your side, so.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and then obviously I have a different screen up. Well, I have a different background going with the green screen right now versus the regular one.
Uh-huh.
Like that, but yeah, that's kind of just me playing around with things and getting things going, man. Having fun with it.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. All right, Rich says in the chat that he's got questions. So we've definitely hooked him. Let's see.
That's similar to my green screen wires and cameras.
Daily News Mysteries, do you do commentary? I think that's probably a voiceover type question would be my guess.
No, just my kids. No, I don't. I'm into public speaking probably a little more. I like public speaking and presenting. I started into voiceover, but ended up being an event planner of voiceover, so I'm happy playing that role.
Uh-huh.
How do you prevent sharing of IDs and links? Well, inevitably, how do you prevent sharing of IDs and links? Depending on the tool you're using, you can set it up so that there's only 1 or 2 or 3 or however many logins from a given IP address. And inevitably, if people want to steal, they'll steal. So don't lose too much sleep over that, because if you think about it for a moment, someone could use a tool like Camtasia or something, and they could have a legitimate stream, and they could capture your whole thing and give it away if they want. So where there's a will, there's a tool out there to help them.
Or they could screen capture your show live and restream it so that 10 of their friends could watch it. Sure.
So as I tell people in IT, you have to plan for the things that are most probable, not the things that are possible.
Right.
Because otherwise you'll go absolutely crazy. The cast has a special settings for only your website. Yes, you can do things like that. Particularly with, the cast is one of the few that even in their most basic account, you can do the location-based things as far as where it can stream from. The bigger challenge is if someone gives away their ID code to someone, then they would have a legitimate login to it at that point. The cast has special settings, only your website. $25 is costly. It would still be streaming from your site, but if someone's given away the login ID, I'm not sure how it would prevent it at that point. Let's see. So I think there was another question that was farther up. cast blog off the first, second person likes it. Yeah. Yeah, the cast has some good features. I like the cast. I just don't like their pay-per-view thing. And hours managed to set up. Let's just setting. Copy progression IDs. Green screen. Can't YouTube do a pay-per-view. The YouTube stuff. You can technically, well, when you use the membership approach that I was talking about, you can stream into whatever you want into your page. You can embed YouTube. You can embed anything in it. Anything you can show on a page, you can use pay-per-view. The thing, I always warn people about with the YouTube stuff is to remember that if there's any music, things like that play in your YouTube feed, they use software to track and shut down those things. If the software and their algorithms decide that you're playing something without a license. You may not want to get stuck with that, especially if people are paying you. That's where it becomes dangerous.
Well, a show like this done in YouTube would do okay because it's just we've got rights to the intro and the outro music.
Yeah, see, you have a very controlled environment,
right?
But if you're doing pay-per-view, just like let's say you're live streaming a football game,
sure.
And at halftime,
Yep.
they decide to start playing music because a lot of them don't really think through what music they play, right? So somebody brings them up a CD, they stick it in, or a thumb drive, they play it.
Or the band plays something.
The bands, it may not be picked up because they're usually not accurate enough. In many cases, they have their version of something, but I'm talking like people go up there with their iPhone or something, plug into the sound system.
Well, when I stream for my church, I have to be careful because sometimes the praise music at the very beginning will be picked up by YouTube and flagged. And it's not the exact same recording, but it's similar enough that I guess it gets the.
Yeah, it's going to have some tolerance in there, but again, I say when people start paying you, the expectations get higher. But the last thing you want to have happen is to be feeding a paid thing through YouTube and you get shut down because the only thing worse than fighting hard to get those people to pay you in the first place is refunding the money. Trust me, that is the bad part.
Yep. You don't want to go there.
Yeah. And the thing with YouTube is like, you can argue all you want, but it's a free service. So what's the inclination? I mean, they don't ultimately care. You're not an advertiser with them. So
Well, and today bandwidth has never been cheaper. I don't know that you can get streaming bandwidth any cheaper in history than you can today. It is a commodity. There are hundreds of companies that are selling it, and they're bundling all sorts of other services along with it to try to differentiate themselves in the market. But the bottom line is, if you're buying bandwidth, it's cheap.
Yeah, I see even Ken who says, all the keyboard warriors come out when there are pay-per-view problems. Trust me, you are telling the truth, because it does not matter how low the price is.
Right.
Even if it's $1, the only difference in the frustration you'll experience with it being $1 versus it being $100 is the fact that you won't feel like the frustration, was he worth $1? If it's $100, you may feel like, okay, gosh, that was painful, but it was $100, so I'm good. When it was $1, it's no fun. The other streaming services have the same restriction on copyright issue music, if so. The other services, in my experience, is usually if someone reports you. They're not nearly as proactive, I'll put it that way. But if someone reports you as having questionable content, they will tend to shut you down first and ask questions later.
Right.
But not like YouTube. YouTube tends to be kind of automatic from what I understand. They will flag you without somebody, because it's software. I mean, it's software listening and your thing.
Well, and anything that's going to have that kind of public offering, like Facebook or YouTube, that's out there in the public to be discovered, they themselves have to watch their P's and Q's or they're going to get in trouble. But somebody like StreamHoster, for example, that doesn't have a public venue like YouTube does, they give you an embed code, and that's the only place that your content is seen, is wherever you choose to embed it. Again, unless there's a complaint lodged by somebody somewhere, and the complaint's probably going to be lodged against you. It's not going to be lodged against them. I don't see it as that big an issue as long as you're not using a big name provider. If you're using a mom and pop provider, you're probably going to slide under the radar.
Yeah, and I think that even when people ask about Facebook Live and they'll say, "Hey, the thing's always flipped over," I think that's in part because it helps them avoid that type of thing when people are wearing logos and things. It's because it's flipped over, it doesn't look the same. It's not like a normal logo. Like, you can read Eagles on my shirt here. You can read Eagles. Right. But if we were on Facebook Live, it would be the other way around. It would flip over.
Really?
Yeah, all of your Facebook Live is flipped.
Huh.
Yeah. And I don't officially know the answer to that, but I would assume that's what it is.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you can do that in vMix. You can set it to mirror. So you could do the same exact thing. Yep, just like that.
There we go. Yeah. So it would turn itself back right side up. I mean, right side right. Oh, that's great.
And so see, if somebody had some software or something that was monitoring for copyrighted logos or something like that, it wouldn't pick it up because it's backwards.
Uh-huh. Gee whiz.
Let's see. To shut it down on the live streams. What's the time? It's just recording later on. Streams live. That's cool, Philip. Good enough.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with you. I wouldn't use a social media streaming provider for a pay-per-view event. That's a really good point. A professional would, let's put it that way.
Yeah. And even for after the fact, I use Vimeo. I tend to use Vimeo for that. The feeds are clean. You don't have the YouTube branding and stuff on there and stuff like that. I tend to just feel a little better usually if I feel like I've made a contribution to the service I use, so that I, like my customers, can have a level of expectation about it. Let's see here. Music audio, playback. String solution. String lister.
Let's see.
Yeah, the cast is pretty good. I like the cast. I've been playing with Streaming Monkey lately. Yeah.
In fact, vMix, if you go into the streaming settings in vMix, vMix has a list of about maybe 10 or 15 CDNs that vMix is already set up to use.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is log in to your account at StreamHoster. Well, I don't know that StreamHoster's on the list, but StreamShark is. Log into your account at StreamShark, and vMix will go out and get all the necessary keys and codes to make your event work. So that would be a good place to look for a list of CDNs. Those are
That's
ones
actually really
tested.
good. One thing I learned about the cast in vMix was, like, if you do the initial login and let it pair with your account, and then you want to do multi-bit rate, which forces you to go in and add the additional stuff to it. As long as you've done the login first, it'll automatically put the information in the fields for things like your ID and your password and stuff like that, so you don't have to go back and enter that again. It already has it. So, so that's a good feature.
Yeah, the Facebook one still requires a second step, and Periscope and Twitter require a second step. But yeah, Mike is. Yeah, Mike, I looked into Scale Engine. I'm not sure why I passed on them. I'll have to take a look. I don't think it was a true white label
Scale Engine
program. I think it was a reseller program. Yeah.
I'll take a look at it. I love looking at stuff. It's like my pastime.
Obviously, folks, this guy does not have enough work to do.
I've seen them before. I'm trying to remember why I did or didn't go further with them.
Scale Engine has kind of got a convoluted setup process that they created themselves, and it's not very user friendly. At least the last time I looked, it wasn't. It's been a while.
Yeah. See, this goes back to that whole thing of like when you want to use the service, but you're not really sure how great that service is going to be when you hit production. That's one of the reasons I love being able to have multiple stream things right there on hand, just feeding through a page, because I don't impact my users.
Yep.
I can just put something so close to them that if there's a problem, they click this button and they bring up the other one. Or I just switch the code and I'm done.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah.
I have a friend who does high school football, and he's got, I don't know, 50 or 60 schools that he's working with, and he switched his streaming provider from one year to the next. And the very first Friday, when all of a sudden, when everybody turned on to watch that football game, it crashed the servers of the streaming provider because they just weren't, they didn't have scalability enough to handle that, and I don't think they really knew what to expect.
Yeah.
But it was, and suddenly, he wasn't streaming. Nothing was streaming. It was a disaster.
Yeah. And that's the case where he would have done well to have an alternative service lined up that could have handled that stream.
Yep.
For him. Even if he went with something like Wowza, and I mean, if you think about it, you can do multiple feeds through vMix, so you can send out to 3 things. So you can have Wowza, you can have Stream Monkey, you can have the cast. So
right.
Literally, you could put 3 buttons on your page that said,
"Yep,
hey." Rich had a question. The comparison between pay-per-view and sponsor-based. It depends on, I think it depends mostly on the type of client relationship you're trying to have. Because some people just aren't used to paying for anything if it's always been free.
right,
And I know, like in my case, it's a challenge to get a sponsor to pay for something unless you can show some type of guaranteed traffic for them. And a lot of time they're looking for traffic guaranteed in the thousands and thousands and thousands
right,
of viewers. So if you can justify that to them, then they'll go with it. But most of them will say, well, how many viewers do you have? And if you're saying, oh, well, there's 100 people that watch the game, that's probably not going to sound very exciting. So
nope.
You just have to, just keep in mind that sponsor things that they get eyeballs. Eyeballs are links on their pay-per-view is you putting it right in front of the person. But I think in terms of sports, try to put together packages versus individual things.
Right. When we were streaming soccer for the high school several years ago, we would put it together in the, this is how many eyeballs you get for the season. And obviously that was a bigger number than the number of eyeballs you got for the game.
Yeah.
And we'd always say eyeballs, not viewers, because it was twice as many.
I guess it's good that you don't say ears and eyes.
That's right. Well, and you
You're
know,
going to quadruple your traffic.
you never really know. Nowadays, you know, folks will take something like this and they'll put it up on they'll screen, you know, Chromecast it to a big screen TV or something like that, and they might have a dozen people watching. So you don't know really what your viewership is. You know precisely how many connections got made, but you don't know what the viewership really is.
Yeah. And sometimes in cases of like the sports and things or the schools, if you're able to give them a small kickback, they're happy. They're happy to promote it for you. You know. Uh,
We had an arrangement with a school where they would pay us to do the stream,
mhm.
and then they would go out and sell sponsorships that included, you know, banners and things like that at the stadium, but also included recognition in the stream and ads in the stream. And so we'd put the ads in the stream. So they essentially paid us to put ads in the stream, and it was great. And we had our own sponsors.
Yeah.
So it was a good relationship. But I mean, you know, it was a very friendly kind of relationship.
Yeah. Richard, yeah, your concept of broadcast of free content. I've seen a site that does that. It was, I can't remember. They're the ones that they sell the little prefab box thing that you use to stream with. I can't remember it offhand.
Boxcast?
Boxcast, yeah. They have an option to do that where you can stream like a low res version and then you can charge for the high res version. But their overall model has some challenges that I wasn't able to work past. So I'll just put it like that. But overall, it's a nice platform. They pay me, users don't. More eyeballs, folks have a better chance of getting a sponsor. I agree. That's great. Yeah. A lot of this just comes down to you knowing the relationship that you have with the people you're trying to service.
Right.
I mean, if they trust you, that helps. You know,
Yep.
if you've worked with them for some time, that helps.
Right.
You know, if you can show value to them, that really helps a lot. Like that. So don't just make it about money. Make it about how what you're offering them brings value to what they're trying to do.
Sure. Well, and back in the day, before live streaming got as popular as it is now, our high school was the only high school that was streaming soccer. And so it elevated the school in the community between other schools. You know, if you were in the soccer community, and soccer is kind of a close-knit community, because not a lot of kids play it down here in the South as compared to maybe in the North or in the West. But in the soccer community, suddenly our school was just, you know, this beacon on the hill because they were live streaming their soccer matches, and everybody wanted to do it, and they were contacting us to find out how. It was an exciting time. Of course, now everybody's doing it, so it's different.
Yeah, I've thought like in my sports things that I do with the kids. You know, I actually create a whole little website for them and everything so they can go in and watch it. And probably the next season, I'll just put a little donate button on there. You know, I'm not going to charge them. I'm just going to put a little note and say, hey, if you'd like to contribute to supporting the live streaming and stuff, feel free to donate. And you know, I'm sure somebody will, maybe over the course of the 8 weeks.
Well, sure, and or here's something that might generate some more, although it may not be worth it, is to say that, you know, whatever we get, we're going to split with the team for their year-end party or something like that. So it's kind of got a little element to it that the boys get something out of it. I guess it's all boys on the team, right? No girls.
Yeah, I don't want to share that part, man. I'm standing out there for like 2 hours at a time, man. You know, I'm like,
I hear you.
It's painful sometimes. I have to start wearing a back support because it's just you're literally just standing in one spot, swinging that camera around for a couple hours in the heat in the summer, and then in the cold by the time the season ends.
Yep.
Let's see, is there a Chrome extension for Command VPN? Free to watch from tablet. What do you do? Think of and live streaming. Gosh. I think live streaming will continue to be easier, more accessible to people. So I think you're going to end up with a gulf. You're going to have the more basic live streaming where people are just still doing it from their phone. And then you're going to have the live streaming that involves switching angles that they can't get, closeness to the scene that they can't get. And I think that's where you're going to find people having to differentiate themselves, Richard. And I don't think the middle will fare very well. So if you're one guy, one camera, one point of view, I think it'll become harder. That's my thought.
Well, I think one of the biggest differences is everybody is going to be streaming.
Yeah, but the thing is that everyone may stream, but if you consider for a moment, like Jim does sports, everybody can stream some version of the game. But what Jim should be able to give them is, Jim's out there, one, if he's contracted to stream that event, Jim's going to have access to the sidelines that they don't have. Streaming it from your cell phone from the bleachers, it should not have a view that looks anything like Jim's. I'm streaming from the sideline at my kids' games, and I'm out there with the 20x zoom. I'm like right up on the player, like you would almost see at an NFL game. They're trying to stream from the bleachers with an iPhone. It shouldn't be a comparison there. Now, for some people, anything's going to be good enough, but that's why I said you're going to have to kind of find a way to separate yourself and making the right investments. I'd love to do multi-camera, but I'd have to have another person to kind of facilitate doing that. Although I've thought about adding a small laptop right there attached to me, on a small stand next to me, and using my point tilt zoom camera to do that part of it, and then having my regular Sony camera to give me a different angle and just work both of them at the same time, and then just switch manually real quick using my X keys I got from Tom.
Well, there's always going to be competition. There's always somebody that's going to be out there doing it more cheaply. And the question, I think, is, to bring more value to your broadcast by graphics, lower thirds, scores, time clock, statistics, by having a play-by-play announcer, by having instant replay, by being able to do so many things that somebody can't do with a phone or an iPad. If you've got this, you've got video and you've got audio, but you don't have the extras. Now, if somebody is using an iPad or an iPhone as a camera and they're sending it over Wi-Fi somewhere else so that it can be incorporated into a broadcast, that's a different story. Because actually with vMix and NDI and the NDI app, this makes a good little camera, and would make a great little sideline camera where you can plug up a mic to it and interview your coaches, coming in or coming out of halftime. And then pow, there they are, and you've got the thing.
Yeah.
But it takes having that home base that can tie it all together, and that's what a single person with a single camera is not going to be able to do.
Yeah, and I went through this with photography, where I was doing photography full time, and it was right about that time when every phone got a camera. Every phone got a camera, and DSLRs became very inexpensive, and everybody had one. And so nobody was, even the manufacturers were working against us, because they were like, hey, if you buy this camera, you can shoot just like a pro. You don't have to go to a pro photographer anymore. And the people were buying into that. And so you have to be able to reinvent yourself and offer things in such a way that it's a service that they can't get from someone else. There's always going to be somebody looking for a free option.
Sure.
And there's always going to be somebody looking for a premium option. It's just the reality of it.
Yep. The other thing is, and whether it be sports or any other subject, you need to know your audience. You need to know who your audience is and be able to match their match up to their expectations. I mean, if the audience is only interested in a 5-minute broadcast of something on an iPhone, you don't want to be in competition with that.
Yeah.
But if the audience is looking for an immersive experience, an hour and a half sporting event with all the other things that they would expect to see on ESPN, I mean, there's your sports equivalent. They're not going to get that from an iPhone. They're going to expect more, and you can give them more. I mean, Ken, I don't know if Ken is still in chat, but Ken does a beautiful broadcast with his college football team, and it rivals ESPN. I don't know that he has as many cameras or he has the flyover cameras and all that kind of stuff, but the graphics and the announcers and the quality of the cameras, the quality of the image, and the instant replay is professional looking and the kind of feed that people would be comfortable watching.
Right.
In sports, I think that's the level you're going. Now, like one of my clients is Drew University, and they live stream and record concerts. And there may be orchestras or quartets or soloists or whatever. What is their audience? Their audience is radically different from a college football audience. Their expectations are different. Their expectations are that the sound quality is going to be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. And not to mention that the equipment you need to record in one of those environments, like a concert or an orchestra where there's dim lighting, is very different than what Jim may need out there where he's dealing with bright sun, and subjects that are running full speed. So you have to know your market, like you touched on there, Tom, and know your gear. And I know, like when I do my son's games, granted it's not a pay-per-view situation or anything, but you know how I promote my my live streaming? It's that it's designed for the parents who can't be there. So the people who are doing it from their phone, they're not my competition. They're not,
Right.
They don't offer what I offer. What I'm offering is something for the people who can't be there. And you know who my biggest fans ended up being? Are the coaches who are on the sideline who want later to go back and watch the game.
Sure.
So they come back and they're like, oh my God, man, I watched that thing like 3 times. Even their wives are like, man, he's been watching that thing all week.
Yeah.
But I would never promote myself as a sports videographer in that sense, because I've met guys who go around, and probably like Jim could testify to this, is they're out there to capture the sports event. I've seen coaches out there with tablets and stuff that these video guys were providing them, where they're literally tracking stats and what runner did this and what runner did that. I'm filming it from the standpoint almost like a parent. So I don't want to track it as, well, number 35 did this or that. Sometimes I'll narrate it a little bit, and I was like, oh, they didn't do well on that play. Let's try it again next down. It's like, I'm not calling out numbers, really,
Well, these are what, 10-year-olds?
11, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wait 8 years. You'll be calling out numbers.
Well,
yeah.
but the thing is, the parents love it. They love it because it's not sportsy. It's
Right.
just parent-y, and they're just
Sure.
able to see the kids. They don't have to listen to.
That'll change.
Yeah.
That'll change.
Yeah, I'll let somebody else do it.
Once they get up to 13, 14, and it gets closer to playing in school, that's the big jump. Then it gets
If I were
serious.
into some of these sportsmen, like somebody mentioned something like motocross or something like that, I'd be out there investing in some of the Teradek system stuff, and I'd be putting GoPros on handlebars of things, because you know what? That parent doesn't have a GoPro to mount on their handlebars, man. And I
Right.
tell you what, the video that I'm going to give you is not going to be what you can capture from an iPad.
Right. And that's what Jim was saying just a second ago. He said, our goal is to give viewers an online experience that is close to what they're experiencing on broadcast TV. And yeah, it's a high standard, but I think that's the standard. And that's going to be the beauty of all the people that are cutting the cord and going off TV. They're looking for the same quality, but in an online medium.
Yeah, and I was actually going to comment on that because somebody was saying, well, the Facebook and all these things are changing the experience. They are, but at the same time, because technology is advancing on the other side, when they watch an NFL game, they're getting overhead views, they're getting huddle views, they're getting side views, they're getting field views. They're like 27 or 30 something cameras out there at least monitoring that game and showing you all these different angles. So for one person with one iPhone, that's not gonna really satisfy you. But if Jim's out there and he's got 4 angles, 5 angles, that's gonna be a lot better.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be an exciting year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
2017.
I think the guys should go out there and ladies should go out there and and invest in yourself. You don't have to go over the top, fortunately, nowadays with much of the stuff, but make a decent investment in your product. Be able to go to the right client. Start where you are. If you're a member of a church and they don't have a video service, maybe offer a limited service to them just to give you practice. That's why I do the football games. I get bored sitting on the benches for one, but it gives me the practice of every single week. I go out there and I set up that gear. I plug it up. I know the cables. I know every cable I need. I know all these different things because I go do it every time. Mike asked, what cameras am I using besides the PTZ optics? I have a Sony NX5 here, and then I used to have another little small camera. Then I have a GoPro. And my new one that I want, that's going to be my gift for having a successful conference, will be the new Panasonic UX180. That's the one I love to have. Yeah. Tom, I was thinking, I'm going to throw this out there just to put you on the spot, man.
All right.
I know these guys in the chat and ladies in the chat and stuff are probably all over the place, but you're what? How far are you from Atlanta? Do you know?
5-6 hours.
So not horribly far away.
No.
I'm going to throw it out there that I think maybe we should put together something sometime next year, but just have I know they have like a big giant streaming conference somewhere, but just like a get together, man, where if you're in the Southeast or you just want to come in or whatever and spend a weekend, just bring some gear. Let's just go through, test a bunch of stuff, run around the hotel building, filming and streaming and having a blast, man.
Well, funny that you would mention that.
Uh-oh.
Look out.
I stepped in it now.
You did. Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, and I were chatting, I guess it's been about a month or so ago, about doing a vMix meetup somewhere in the States next summer when he's actually going to be here in the States for an extended period of time. And
We'll do it in Atlanta. I'll plan it.
And do it in Atlanta. That would be great. We could make a weekend in it, take in a Braves game, do some video stuff, talk vMix, drink coffee until late hours of the night.
Yeah, test NDI, do all the fun stuff, put together a whole program, just doing different things. vMix can be an official sponsor for it, and
Yep.
anybody who wants to come in, just come in.
He actually said he would help underwrite part of the cost. Yeah.
Yeah, do daytime stuff, nighttime stuff, find a sports event to go cover,
Rich wants us to go to Pensacola in May, and Merle wants us to go to Indianapolis.
Indianapolis won't happen. Just kidding.
And Jim said he could bring his trailer.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Here in the area. That's what I mean. Like Jim has a trailer. We can go right there in the parking lot somewhere or to a sports thing and, just take a shuttle bus or meet up at the sports venue with that. I like it. I like Atlanta not simply because I live here, but because it's very cheap to fly into.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest advantages with my conference is that, round trip to Chicago, $150. Round trip New York, $250. Round trip LA, $350.
Yep.
It's reasonable for people to fly into and out of, and there are tons of flights that come and go. So
Yeah,
It's good. It's good in that sense. Jim talking about Atlanta works for him. Yeah, because you're right. You're in Atlanta too.
and you can fly from is it Heathrow?
Yeah.
Um, so
Heathrow, yeah, London nonstop.
yep, there you go. So there's some of our international guys.
Yeah, one
Just
of
get
one
to,
of my people I'm bringing in from London. Their round trip was like $450, caught on special.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, we
So
need to pick a date then.
yeah. Well, you said he'll be in the States in the summer, so why don't you get with him and see
He's
if you
he,
can narrow down when.
he's on vacation. He'd come up for 3 or 4 days. So
But
uh,
we'll talk about that because I plan things, man. So
okay,
I've got contacts with all the hotels
you're you're the,
here.
you're the missing link because I've been working on this for about 4 weeks and I'm barely getting out of the gates on it.
Oh
Uh,
man, shoot, I could take you out the gate around the building a few times, hit the ground running.
all
So
right, all right. Well, that's I'm all over that. That's good. That's good.
yeah. We could even do some pay-per-view for people that can't make it. I'm just saying,
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
for training purposes, of course.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, there's the crop at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, let's see if we can't fix that. I don't know if it'll fix or not.
Oh yeah.
No.
I think it's good when people get together and do things. It's like in the old days, you just go fishing with the guys or something. And nowadays, people are so more, much more spread out everywhere. That I'm still a big believer that nothing, connects people better than, conversation over a sandwich or a beer or something, and getting out there and doing things in real life, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I just feel very fortunate that I kind of got into my planning process when I did, and I never planned on being the largest event of its kind, but uh, that's how it ended up. So,
Well, and that's cool. I'm all over that. I am all over that. That's
and
the
I
way
think
to
the
do it.
live streaming played a big part in that too.
Oh, really?
I really do.
Really? Huh.
I really do because it's easy for people to share that link. It's easy for people to just, we're actually creating. Uh, I've got a guy who has a production, like a news television background, and he's actually putting together a programming schedule of the free content stuff that we'll be pushing out from the conference, of interviews, of different segments, of testimonials and stuff. So we'll have a constant stream of things. Some things we'll do live and some things we'll record, and then we'll do a quick edit and play them. But there'll be its own little channel feed that people will be able to go to our website or to our VOAtlanta.tv page and constantly be getting things from the event, just like you would get at NAB or CES.
Uh-huh.
They have like their YouTube channels and different things like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else? Do we have any other questions in here? All the streams for our parade for the past 5 years for parade versus. Yeah, look, your streaming thing on the mobile stuff, man, get yourself a hotspot. Don't ever try to use your cell phone for all that goes streaming. Just get a hotspot. It's dedicated for what it does, and it does it well. Do not try your cell phone unless it's a backup situation. Yeah, learn that the hard way too. Everything, 9 out of 10 things I tell you, it's not a reflection of how smart I am. It's a reflection of how I got burned the first time, and I'm trying to save somebody else. Yeah. I think it was Jim talking about my fast setup. The secret to the fast setup is portable power. Portable power. If you got this, 9 out of 10 of your problems go away. Yep. I preset everything, have my portable power pack. I can go sit out there on that field for 5-6 hours, never switch a battery or anything.
Well, with power and internet, you've solved 90% of the issues that you're going to get. I mean, that's routinely what I hear is I don't have access to power, I don't have access to internet.
Yeah, well, the secret to the power thing is to have like the packs. The packs that I buy, you have to pay attention to whether they give you the 12-volt output. So a lot of people will see these battery packs and just think they're all the same. They're not. Make sure your battery pack has the 12-volt output. This particular one is a 50,000 milliamp pack. It has a 12-volt and a 20-volt output. So you have to be careful which one you plug into, but it's a 12-volt and a 20-volt plus USB. So I can have 4 USB devices, 2 high power USB, 2 standard USB, 12-volt and 20-volt. The 20-volt is for powering a laptop. So it comes with adapters and stuff. For that, I can power my laptop, my cell phone, my on-camera light, my Wi-Fi hotspot, and everything else. So the only battery I worry about having charged up all the way is the high-capacity battery on the back of my Sony camera. And the truth is, when halftime comes or something like that, if I felt worried about the battery strength, I could just switch my battery at halftime and keep going. So even my video, I run off of this.
There you go.
Yeah, wow, that's better than my Harbor Freight generator. This pack is, somebody asked the name of it. It just says G3 Tiger K2, capacity 50,000 milliamps, polymer lithium ion. And I love it. And it doesn't take forever to charge either. If I plug it up from dead empty, it's probably fully charged in like 4 hours. So, and it runs around $100, which,
There you go.
yeah, but if you think about it, your average battery pack that you might pay $30 or $40 is only giving you like 8,000, 15,000 milliamps. I've got one pack, 50,000 milliamps. This one pack.
This guy is geek to the max. I love it. I love it.
So like, this is the other one people are like, these are small ones. This one doesn't have the extra port that I was talking about for the 12-volt. That's the key. I'm telling you, the biggest thing you overlook is not getting one that has that 12-volt port on it. You got to have the 12-volt output on it. And then, just staring stuff if you guys here. You can get an adapter like this and a little plug. And so I split my thing into, from one power coming out the battery, I can split it into 3 connectors or more if I want it. And then I run that to my video streaming unit, my lights, and my monitor. I have a 7-inch monitor attached to the camera. So I run a 3-foot extension cord to those, and then the one line back to the battery pack. And it'll power the thing 5, 6, 8 hours and still have half to charge it when I pack it all up at the end. I'm going to get into streaming idiots.
And Alfredo says, there's a Hall of Fame?
Okay, so John said 15 amp hours, but at what voltage? Often manufacturers will call the battery cell capacities together and get impressive numbers, but single cell only has full. Some of them. I can, on this particular pack, I'm trying to think, I don't know that it, DC 16.8 volts at 2.5 amps is how the label is written. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or not. But I've never run into a problem with it at all. I have 2 smaller packs that I had gotten that they were 13,500. They're actually designed to jumpstart cars. In fact, my car had been sitting a few days and it got really cold here lately. When I had to start it, the battery would start. I took my pack, which is literally just a little bigger than this one, that has the 12-volt thing on it, and it came with the jumper cables. I plugged that up on my Mercedes R350, a 6-cylinder vehicle, and I didn't wait or anything. I plugged it up, went and cranked the car right up, took that off, set it back in the glove box, I kept on going. And it only cost me 1% of power on the dial. Yeah,
Oh, I
let's
love it.
see. And then this one says, I bought 2 of them. Income on top live streaming from Amazon, 50,000. Yep, that probably sounds about right. I'm not sure if the link's working here. Let me see what this link goes to. Battery pack. Let's see where this goes. Okay. Yep, that's it. But there's a different one. This one has 1 star on it. I'm not sure what the story was with this one, but there's another one that's just like it. You can tell they're basically made the same. People are just rebadging them and things like that. So I'll show you one that just has the same exact name, or the same exact product, same exact power rating, just that it's put this one in here. Okay. So there's a link to one. You'll see this one has 231 reviews with 669 answered questions. It's the same pack though. Yep.
Huh.
Same writing and everything. The only thing is different is that one says Max Soap and mine says G3 Tiger. Same product though. They're just rebatched.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And there's one out there, but it was on Kickstarter or somewhere that actually has an AC plug on it. But I want to say it was like $250. So I didn't go with that one. It'd be cool to have it because then I could actually plug the Sony camera directly into that one, type of thing. So, I mean, there's just some options. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is just, you know, me testing. What do the packs power, Fredo? In my case, they power a 7-inch HD monitor that I have attached to my Sony camera. I could probably even switch back to that view to show you. Okay, so here you can see my camera set up a little bit. And let me a second here. Try to make it a little easier for you here. Okay, update that. Okay. So what you're looking at there is to the right of, okay, on that screen right there, I don't have it on right now. I don't have the battery plugged on, but that's where I can monitor. That's where I monitor the feed. Because trust me, there's nothing harder than trying to see what you're doing with a bunch of kids running around the field and trying to look at that little 3-inch screen that comes on the camera. So I have a 7-inch screen on the back that takes an SDI line out of the camera right into it. So that's a 12 volt. It's a variable input, but it supports 12 volt. I run that off of the battery. To the right of it, you see a little block attached to the right side of the camera there. That's my video unit. That's my encoder, a wireless encoder that I have that I actually stream out from. So that's what you see there. At the top, you see in this particular setup, I have a light. That is an icon light that I got from B&H recently through their Black Friday or something. I think it was like $199, but it's a bicolor light. And it came with 2 small batteries, but it takes the Sony batteries. But I just keep those as backups because remember, it's Sony batteries. It's the same batteries that my camera uses. So if I needed to switch batteries in the camera, I just got an extra 2 batteries to do it with if I needed to. And I can power the light off of my battery pack. So I run that from there. And then I use the USB port on the battery pack to power my Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's how I make sure my hotspot never goes dead. So my hotspot never goes dead. My viewfinder, my monitor, my external monitor never goes dead. My encoder never goes dead. And I've even run a test that's lasted over 5 hours with that 300 LED bulb thing going at full 100%. And my battery pack was still at half capacity. So, yep. And even the camera, the PTZ camera, takes 12 volt. So if you got the cable that goes with like the home PTZ install kits or whatever that you can pick up at some of the hardware stores, they'll have a 12 volt line that runs in connection with the SDI, like the BNC connectors. You can run that to your PTZ camera and then just plug the other end into your battery pack, and then all of a sudden you got PTZ with power and SDI line coming all the way back to your switcher, and it's all running off of one 50,000 milliamp battery, and you'd be able to run like that for 3 or 4 hours at least. At least. Like I said, I only got to half, so I have to leave it running and go to bed and come back the next morning, and it'll be dead. But yeah, it'll run for hours. So let's see, for the one you linked, interesting numbers. Equals 1 hour equals 1 acre. Yeah, but they measure them off of the milliamps. So it's 50,000 milliamps, amp hours, just like that. Let's see how it's worded. Yeah, milliamp hours. So in the end, I try the products to just test them and see how they work, because the stats, yeah, those can be interesting. So what else? Keep it coming, guys. I'm good. We can talk tech all day.
Gerald's going to get his own show now.
No. I like this. I like this stuff. And like I said, I like testing things. So, fortunately, I have a larger basement, so I'm able to come in here. You can see in that shot you're looking at. Well, they can't see in the shot they see on your screen, Tom. But I've got 3 monitors. You probably can't see them all right now, but I was telling you earlier, Tom, I got set up. So there are 3 monitors there just so I can keep up with the different things I'm messing around with. And I'll probably add a 4th just to be able to do some additional testing. And then I hung the green screen up there on the wall. So you can see the one light there. That was powered. It's a different light. So you get the general idea of that. Let's switch back here. So see, this is a clean little client view.
There we go. There we go. Well, so, Gerald, I know you guys could chat, but I have got to go back to work here. I got folks I need to talk to. So we're going to close this off for today. It's like, oh, golly, Dad, do we have to? But what do you think, folks? You think we ought to get Gerald back on the show again after his conference? If there's anything left of him? Yeah.
I'll be good. At least after a week after, I'll be fine. I'm usually dead the first week. But.
Yep. No, I understand. All right. Very good. Yeah, there we go. It took 10 or 15 seconds for the message to get out there, but now it's like, yes, have him back. All right.
I had to think about it. It's like, I don't know, man. It's kind of scruffy. I was going to go shave and get all pretty and stuff, but a conference call that I forgot about before yours came in, and I was like, dang.
Yeah. No problem. That's good. We expect our folks to be slightly off center, just a little.
Did you see John's comment about, Tom, you can leave, just leave the stream and go to work?
That's right.
Hey, you guys are going to get me in trouble now. Tom's like, oh, God, I can't have it back. Just take it over.
Well, actually, we can do that if you want. We can go here, and I'll come back. And if you guys have stopped talking, I'll turn it off. So, Gerald, have at it.
I'll give him 15 more minutes or so.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Have fun.
Try a computer team. This scruffy is good. Okay. So now Tom's left. We can have the party. Start the party now. Okay. So what other questions does anybody have that I might be able to answer? See, Tom leaves, now it's all quiet. Yes, it's Gerald's show. Don't worry, I'm not going to change the green screen to anything illegal or anything. So, okay, let's see here. Live stream. The question was, do I use vMix? I use vMix. I've used Livestream, Studio. I've used a number of them, the different products out there. They all have their pros and cons. That's all I can say about that. You have to remember there's a big delay. Yes, I do have to remind myself of that. There is a delay in the program. Regarding power, we have gone a slightly different direction, a big UPS, a lot of long power cables, but that is because we often stream for 10 to 12 hours or more. Yeah, you could do that, John, but that is a lot of weight to carry around. Overall, so yeah, I used to carry a battery pack as well, and sometimes we'll keep one in the car just in case to have as a battery backup source. One of the big jump start type batteries to have in there. But I found that having the packs was just a lot better. And I have multiples of them, so I can carry 2 or 3 50,000 watt packs in my bag. But if you need the AC power, then it gets to be a slightly different animal. Let's see, sometimes we have to take into consideration that national TV will come and blow a fuse in the building. If you're using the power packs that I'm referring to, it wouldn't matter because they're not plugged into anything. Kind of run the vMix Go from a battery pack. Yeah, vMix Go is going to be an actual computer, and it's probably going to have a higher wattage pull that system would be able to do. But with some of the battery packs, you could actually do a laptop, streaming from laptop in some respects. I'm streaming from a desktop. I'm a huge fan of the HP Z series workstations, so that's what I kind of go with. Also power projectors and scoreboard and such. Yeah, John, you definitely have a unique kind of situation, which is probably going to be well beyond the stuff that I deal with. Explain your coder system that you use. Tom did leave, Alfredo. He just left it running so I could chat. I use the video unit from Teradek, and I just use those 12 volt. It has its own built-in battery, so even if I need to switch out my battery pack, it doesn't stop streaming at all. It just switches to its internal battery, and then I switch my battery pack and plug it back up, and then it switches back to the battery pack, and never a loss of anything there. The camera has its own batteries as well. In all of your streaming solutions, what have you found to be the best way to do rolling credits? I'm having trouble learning this in vMix. I'm confident there's user error, but can sort out a good way. It's a bit easier for this, but completely different approach in rolling credit. I cannot really help you there. A few ideas cross my mind, but nothing that I've tested that I can help you with. How long have you been a broadcaster? I am a broadcaster from necessity, Alfredo. I do an event here in Atlanta called VO Atlanta, and it brings together talent from all around the world who are voice actors and the voice acting community. So I wanted to do live streaming, and just as my nature is, I try to learn as much as I can when I'm working in different spaces. And so I just kind of became a broadcaster that way, and then I started doing live stream of my 9-year-old son's football team, which when they're in season, I live stream between 8 and 10 different events from them. for that matter. So that's how I ended up being a quote unquote broadcaster. Guess else can help. But yeah, vMix is pretty good. It has a lot of different options. I'm still getting used to a lot of it. I did add the PTZ camera, which has been pretty good to play with, and I look forward to taking it out on some production stuff in the coming future. Can't remember from where I got it, but if anyone wants to, I can send it to you. Okay, that's good. Good with early credits. Did you look into the Widecast Gearbox Plate Box solution? Not sure. Alfredo, I'm not sure if that's directed at me or to just the chat in general. Let's see. Okay. I've played with Wirecast as well, in addition to vMix. That was one of the other ones that I had looked into. So let's see what else we have here. I know we have a delay, so I'm just being patient here. Let's see what else I can show you guys. Terra decks. Yeah, that's the Terra deck setup right there. I have played with Wirecast. The one feature I really like on Wirecast is the ability to continue to add all types of streams. As long as your computer can support it, you can add as many output streams as you like. Most systems like vMix limit you to 3. So that's something I did like about Wirecast. I use their regular version. In vMix, I have their 4K version because I wanted to be able to record out in the ISO mode to have a recording of each individual device if I wanted to. So I use their 4K version. So I think it's one step down from their biggest one, but I didn't need the replay options or anything like that. So yeah. And let's see, you're running the Pro, different one. Oh, run the credit. I think someone answered the question about the rolling credit. I really don't know a solution to that one per se. Like, oh, of vMix, I have the 4K version, Mike. I think that's the answer to your question. I'll double check it. Here, software. Yes, it's the 4K version. I do not have the Pro version. Yep. If you do sports, you probably need the Pro version with the 4 cameras, replay, things like that. Features, so we'll get one replay camera. Yep. Video. I use the regular video unit. I have looked at getting the Pro version, Mike, and I'm on the fence. The thing I do like about it is the ability to record directly to an SD card within the unit. As long as you're streaming, it'll record to that card if you set it up that way. That is something I really like the idea of, because it gives you a local copy of what's going out of your stream that you can then turn right around and upload to something different if you want to play with it or put it back in your computer or just have it as a backup. So right now I just have the regular version, and I'm on the fence about going with the Pro. Although my preference would have been to go with their Cube 650, I think it is, because it gives you the SDI and HDMI option. But I didn't like the fact that they changed the power plug, and the power cord adapters are ridiculously priced on those units, where they're like $100 for a power adapter for me to convert the power into something I can plug into one of my 12-volt battery packs. So that should answer that one. What content do you stream or record in your primary area again? This is sports. I didn't catch that. I do a little bit of sports. My son plays football when it's football season, so I will stream their games live for the parents. But my primary focus in streaming are live events, and most of that centers around the annual conference that I do here in Atlanta called VO Atlanta for voice actors. It's a 4-day event, and we stream our live panel discussions and other content, maybe interviews or different activities like that. We'll stream those out to both free channels where people can watch things, and then we also do pay-per-view for the people who want to watch the panel discussions, and there's a chat room and everything for them to be able to do that. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Alfredo. And let me see here what else I can show you guys in the meantime with my little setup. So let's see. I'll switch back temporarily to the other view, just so you can see that camera view. If anybody had any more questions about it. Okay, let's see here. Did I miss anything? Just scrolling back up the list to see if there were any other questions or comments that may have been missed. That one. Regular design. Oh, sure. The main site is what hotspot model do I use? Okay. The hotspot I use, I don't know the exact model of it. It's the current one from T-Mobile. And I switch them out from time to time if they have a newer, later version that takes advantage of the latest LTE stream or something like that. They tend to be one of the cheapest media things you can get from them. They're not like phones at all. I think mine was $60 or something along those lines. So you can't see output. My camera is both SDI and HDMI. I run the SDI to my monitor, my display monitor, and I run the HDMI connection to the actual encoder that streams out wirelessly through the Wi-Fi hotspot. One particular thing you'll want to do with those if you ever use a video unit is to set up those hotspots ahead of time before you ever get there. Make sure they're paired and they're logged in and connected to each other, because you do not want to try to do that on the field using the little tiny joystick built onto the device. It would be a pain. So preset those things, test them outside of your house or somewhere, just so you can make sure everything's tied in and connected well before you go on location. So that ideally, you get on location, fire up the hotspot, fire up the encoder, it picks up the connection automatically, and you can keep going from there. So let's see what else we have. Okay, looks like we're pretty much, I'll hang in here for another 4 minutes and see if there's any other questions, and we will wrap it up. I will head out to the mail room in a few minutes. So, but again, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to toss them in. I'm going to also post that in here. More comments. I think so. Yeah. The delay in these things are always pretty interesting. So, One thing I'll throw out there as a bonus, you guys may or may not notice if you're visiting my main site, but I use a live chat function, not like this chat room, but one that is more like a support function by a company called Talk2. And what I find is using that is great if you provide any type of support to your visitors, because it's easier to let them ask a question right there and you answer, or have somebody there to be able to answer it, and than for them to have to panic and worry about a bunch of stuff. So let's see here. Oh, okay, this is a lot of questions. Okay, I'm sure. You're welcome. Stop back. Let's see, an i3 machine. I'm able to stream from its bare minimum. Get an i7 with a hefty graphics card for live streaming. I agree. Set up and link from home. Bring complete LAN infrastructure with firewall, Wi-Fi. Yes. Yeah. Do everything ahead of time. Test it ahead of time. Isolate it from your home network if possible, so you can not be tricked into thinking everything works, but it only works on your home network. So, John, you are definitely on the money. You want to test as much as possible, even if it's just in your driveway, you know, or wherever. Just go in your backyard or somewhere and just hook everything up, make sure it works, you know, within its own little system. The better prepared you can be when you show up, the better prepared you'll be when you hit the go switch, and your clients will love you a lot more for it in that process. So you'll be a friend to them. Let's see here. You're very welcome, Martin. Glad to jump in here. It's glad that Tom trusts me enough to leave me with you guys, or maybe he trusts you guys enough to leave you with me. I'm not really sure which one it is, but we'll just suffice to say that we all managed to get along well in the process. vMix is good at using NVIDIA GPU, something beefy, Wi-Fi, i7. Yep, that's good advice too. The i3 would probably be a little challenging when you start adding some of the different functions within vMix. The i3 may struggle a little bit on top of interacting with the video card and everything else going on in the computer. So you'll want to watch that. Okay, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. Final call, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. So let's go. Yep, sticking around after the show information. Minutes, fine call. You guys are welcome. I like talking about this stuff too, so it always helps. The more questions I get, the more things I have to think about and kind of learn about. It's first to remember is be careful from whom you share your LAN. But when running vMix, remember that the web control page is completely unprotected. Anyone can mess around. Yeah. One of the things you can do with that, John, is to use an odd kind of IP address that's a private one. And if they're not on your network, they shouldn't be able to access your unprotected page. Okay, so the vMix tonight, aka later tonight. Yep, I think I'll check out the vMix show later on. Let's see. Else. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, I'm a little longer, but it's all good. Hope everybody's having a good holiday season so far and set up. Check out the Paladin Turn solution if you have not looked at it yet. For your iPaladin.com. Let's see here. Let's take a quick look at that and see what you got there. Freedom. Multi-camera live production box. That's interesting. Fits in the backpack. Okay, all HDMI. That's interesting. I will take a peek at this and see what I come up with. Looks interesting. Is this your company or something, or just a product that that you came across overall? Let's see what the cost is like. So they have various products. Select your configuration. Doesn't tell me what configuration I'm picking. Wow. It's an interesting setup. Okay, that's cool. I'll take a look at that. It's the best PTZ camera you recommend. PTZ camera for live streaming with a laptop. Now you wait. Need a firewall to keep people away. That goes with more from. Yeah, oh, definitely. You should have some type of firewall. Name it something crazy like encrypted virus test for your firewall. Okay. Okay, Alfredo, I see your answer as well. Appreciate you sharing. Came across the product. Yeah, I'll take a closer look at it. It looks interesting for what it is. I wonder if it's, I'd have to look at what its power option is, the type of stuff, because that's what kills. Okay, it does look like it has a 12-volt input on it. Interesting. I will take a closer look at that. Thanks for the link. Finish sharing knowledge time. FBI surveillance van. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I see you guys like the idea of the giving it. Actually, there's a technique they tell people just to give it a name to make people at least think twice about what type of network they're connecting to. So come up with something there. All right, guys. Well, it is 5:30. It's definitely been real, but I'm going to call it a day. Thank you all for your support, and hope you have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. And maybe I'll see you on the next time when someone else has the good fortune of sitting in this chair or their chair on the screen. So with that, I will call it a day. And I think I will give you guys some, I doubt if it plays, but let me try. Where's my option here? Okay. Okay, I'm trying to get out of this. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. I'm not going to be able to hear it, but maybe you guys can hear it. And I'm going to give you guys a big old giant round of applause on top of it for being such a great group of people. And I am going to fade myself to black.